Hey Dan, here's a video for a response to the software architecture video for software engineering. Some of my biggest takeaways from the video were how structured we want this to be so it doesn't dissolve as we code and as we progress the semester, next semester, into some graph with tons of lines that kind of vaguely connect to a lot of things. I appreciate you harping on the fact that as we continue to work and as we actually start coding, we may find it important or may desire to implement some things that might seem easy, but drastically change the architecture that we previously decided on. So I think some of my biggest takeaways is how important it is to stick with whatever idea or whatever architecture you end up deciding on before you code, and then if something, like, you can always add on when you're actually coding, but if your addition doesn't fit into your architecture, then you should drop it and wait until you can somehow figure out a way to build it into your architecture later on. But it shouldn't, especially when you're beginning on a project, you shouldn't be making any drastic changes to the architecture you decided on previously. So here's an architecture graph that I found. um, Connection wise, it seems like we have a core database over here, and then that gets backed up to a replica database and somehow connects to the cloud as well, with various front end applications, whether it be a recruiter or web app, that all connect to different modules that then relate data to the database. So these yeah, this seems pretty high level, even a bit more than what you showed us, but this gives a pretty modular explanation of how something might work, like the front end that people would actually see and work with, and then the way data is sent, and maybe it's edited here or formatted in a way that fits whatever they would put in the database, and then from the database things come here and get updated out of it into the cloud, into different profiles, and back into these different services. I think some of these decisions were made to modularize this portion off, that the kind of intermediate between the application and the database, to kind of assure that the data given from any user fits the format, length, whatever requirements that the database has. So this service can really play around with it and make sure it is all good before it gets sent to the database. And then in regards to a project that I've worked on, I think I've mentioned this project before, but I created a notes issue tracking feature at my internship that worked across multiple screens with a few different data points and whatnot. And we really thought it would be a lot easier than it was, so we didn't create any sort of architecture or design for how it would interact with various modules. And most of our software is very modular, so I was just attempting to add this feature in to different modules and have it work together, and the modules were pretty different, so it was very difficult to get it to work across modules, and we didn't have any kind of central point where it could talk to both modules. Rather, it just kind of went from one to the other instead of hitting a central point. So that got really messy really quickly, and we had to kind of rewrite it once we realized the limitations we put on ourselves by just starting out with it. So I wouldn't suggest doing that. And that's it for this video. Thanks.